So Leon Edwards defeats Colby Covington by a clear decision win. I mean, there was no question about that, but Colby thought he won. Colby blamed the ring rust for his performance and quickly detoured to talking about politics instead of his actual performance. The fight didn't really play out as we expected, but the fight was interesting in the fact to see Colby Covington sit back the whole fight, Leon Edwards grappling with him. So like the interesting parts of the fight were things that just didn't make sense. Like Colby Covington not fighting like his usual self, sitting back for most of the fight. And then the other questionable thing was Leon Edwards deciding to wrestle and grapple with Colby, which gave Colby the 5th round. He lost a round because he decided to do that. I understand he's trying to prove a point. I understand Leon wants to have some kind of moral victory outside of just winning the fight. But that's not the place to go. He did it and succeeded against Usman by getting that takedown and winning the 1st round. He did take down Colby Covington. He did get his back, almost got complete hooks in, but Colby was able to get on top of him and get good positions because Leon decided to do that. Colby is a much better chain wrestler than he is anything else. So let's talk about this. Why did Colby fight this way? Why did he kickbox with the striker from long range for as long as he did? Was it something Leon did? Was Colby intimidated? Was he overly respecting Leon's game? Was it the ring rust? There's a lot of factors that could be playing here. We don't know which one weighs more than anything else, but what I can see from this is Leon absolutely used techniques out there to keep Colby more timid. Is it timid to the point where he's just gonna sit back until the 4th, 5th rounds? I don't think so. At some point, you gotta make the decision of risking getting in, because you're not going to beat Leon Edwards kickboxing him from long range like this, and your leg is getting destroyed while you're standing out there, so you have to make something work with pressure. Colby's weapon in this fight was about pressure. If he doesn't have pressure, he never beats Leon Edwards in a million years. And this is actually something Colby does against a lot of his opponents. Leon Edwards is not the only guy who threw feints at Colby. Leon's not the only guy that Colby has fought that could knock him out. So at some point, you have to start going forward. And in fact, when Colby decided to do that in the 5th round specifically, he had a lot more success. He was landing more punches, he was putting more pressure on Leon, working off more takedowns, and even won the 5th round. So at least there was more he could work with when he was able to pressure forward. But let's talk about what Leon was doing specifically. Now, Leon Edwards did a pretty good job of keeping Colby on the back foot by constantly switching stances to get the open side for his kicks. We all know that Leon loves the open stance to fire off his power kick. He was doing that a lot more for the first 2 rounds. But Colby, as a response, was constantly switching stances to take that away. So Colby wanted to get in the same stance as Leon, where Leon wanted to get in the opposite stance. So Leon actually made the adjustment on allowing the same stance and started chopping down at the leg instead. When you're both in the same stance, the outside leg kick gets open to the power leg. We know Colby's not a big leg kicker, so this was going to help Leon Edwards. Leon was actually doing something pretty cool here. He would fake or throw the lead snap kick in order to get Colby Covington to switch into the opposite stance. So if Leon is orthodox, let's say, and Colby wants to keep that orthodox stance to take away the opening of the power kick, Leon is going to throw that lead snap kick to the body, and it forces Colby to defend it by bringing his right elbow inward, which is rotating his body to the left. So Colby follows that motion and switches into southpaw. This happens multiple times throughout the fight. Leon had a lot of good strings on Colby to pull on, and this was one of them. Leon did not even need to throw the snap kick. Sometimes he would feint like he's gonna throw one, and Colby would still respond the same way, giving Leon Edwards that opening for his power kick, but he barely even threw the power kick on the open side. So both fighters feinted a lot at each other, more so Leon Edwards, who uses feints as a way to back up Colby Covington and control space. Those feints are being used as threats in the open space between them two, and you could tell from the reaction from Colby Covington on some of those that he definitely was respecting the feints and moving back away from those. Now, the difference was between them two was that Colby also had some feints on Leon Edwards, but he just didn't pressure behind those. He would feint, and there'll be times where Leon would literally take a big step back, and Colby did not really move forward much. This happened multiple times in the fight, actually. Colby would throw a feint out there, Leon would back away, giving a lot of space actually for Colby to move forward. But then you'll see Colby either sit in place or he moves off laterally. He moves off to the left, which is still going to keep him on the fence, right? He wants to get away from the fence and put pressure at Leon, so Leon backs straight up. But he didn't do it too much, especially earlier on in the fight. He became a little bit more aggressive late. The fact that he did become more aggressive later in the fight and still really didn't get hurt shows you that the danger from Leon Edwards was probably exaggerated in Colby's head. He respected Leon a little too much, combined with whatever ring rust narrative that might or might not be true. And also when we talk about the takedowns from Colby Covington in open space, they didn't really get countered too much. He was able to shoot on Leon and even at one point took him down because of one of those. Other times, he actually was able to push him up against the fence, not necessarily securing all of them, but he was at least able to put pressure on Leon, which is ultimately what he wants to do. And it put him in at least better positions to do something with this fight, instead of just sitting back the whole time kickboxing with Leon. And it could leave questions for a lot of fans. What if Colby just did that earlier? What if he shot way more earlier like that? Even Usman was thinking that was going to be a thing. Everybody expected Colby to shoot 20 takedowns in the first 2 rounds, you know what I'm saying? And he shot 0. And the times he did shoot in open space where people might think it could be dangerous, it wasn't necessarily as dangerous as some would think. Evidently so. Now the fact that Leon was able to reverse him at one point, that's a big thing for Leon regardless of how Colby shoots, whether he puts pressure or not, whether he shoots constantly or not. The fact that Leon was able to almost get him in a guillotine as well, these are threats after Colby already pressured him against the fence. And this is ultimately what Colby usually does to opponents. So it doesn't show that, oh, Colby did the right thing of backing up. It shows that Leon was ready to grapple with Colby up against the fence like that, regardless if the pressure was there or not. So it's only a positive on Leon Edwards' side. What Leon did to him showed that it was going to happen regardless. So at least put the pressure to work with more stuff. That's what Colby's game plan should have been at the end of the day, as it always is against all of his opponents. And now let's talk about the mistakes of Leon Edwards. This is the second highlight of the fight. Like for an example, when Colby shot on him and put him up against the fence, instead of fighting off the takedown using the fence as reinforcement, he literally tried to step around and stand over Colby Covington while having a left overhook. But Colby has a right underhook controlling that side if he just pushes it forward. And that's exactly what happened. Colby was able to get on top of Leon literally because of that. And then Colby was able to pull out Leon's left leg to secure the full guard position. Very questionable by Leon Edwards, but we do have to give credit to Leon Edwards in that takedown scenario where he was able to stand up, literally just pushing Colby off of him. There wasn't any crazy technique here, very basic stuff. So he shrimped, got the left knee shield, brought his right foot in between them two, and pushed away Colby Covington standing up. This was very easy for Leon too. Colby did eat most of a head kick afterward. So as Colby was standing up, Leon fired that left high kick. It caught him behind the head and Colby took it pretty well. Or another time where Colby had him up against the fence, he's on both of his knees and Leon, using that left overhook and pushing down Colby's head with his right hand, he's able to step off to his own left and specifically bringing back his right leg, taking the angle away from Colby Covington's left grip. And remember, while Colby's on both of his knees, he only has so far he can reach forward before he gets completely off balance. And knowing this, Leon frames off his head with his right elbow, pushes him down to the mat, and attempts to get his back. Inside that rotation, Colby grabs onto his single leg and gets on top of Leon Edwards. Now, there was an opportunity while Colby had his back to dig in the hooks, but he looked to control Leon's legs by hooking around the ankle instead and throw punches. So what Leon does is, he brings all of his weight forward toward his head, puts his head to the mat, and balancing on that right knee. As you can see here, Colby has control of that left leg. By putting as much weight to the top of his head as he can, he's able to unhook Colby and flip him over. Look how both of them are directly on the top of their heads, man. That's crazy neck strength. And from that, he was able to get on top. He fires off a knee to the body. Another one where Leon decided to grapple with Colby and got himself in a bad position was where Colby was able to push Leon up against the fence after taking him to the ground. Leon did a good job of wall walking and he started to fight off the hands. This is actually very similar to what he did against Usman. Now first, Colby made a mistake here. He stepped off to the left side. Instead of staying behind Leon and taking away any opportunity for him to get around his back, he actually stepped to the left, giving Leon space behind him. Look at this space now. Leon with his left leg steps back and around Colby Covington. And at the same time, he fights off Colby's hands. This is excellent timing from Leon Edwards. Grabs into the body lock and attempts to trip Colby out, but then look at Colby Covington. With his right leg, he puts it in between Leon's and hooks behind Leon's right leg, taking away the balance and keeping himself upright. But Leon does not bail on this. Why is he continuously trying to take down Colby here? The first one failed, but Leon continues to wrestle. He stumbles to the cage, rebounds off of it, and with his left leg steps in front of Colby, dragging him over his leg and tripping him out. And this time he has the underhook, whereas last time it was Colby that had it. Because of that underhook, he was able to keep position on top of Colby Covington and eventually goes to get his back. The thing that Colby did a good job here with is stopping Leon from getting his right hook in. So you can see how Leon has his left hook, he constantly stops the right hook. Now here's where Leon makes another mistake. With his left hook, he tries to trap Colby's left arm as well. So he brings his leg higher and over, but the problem here is he also needs that right hook. in order to trap Colby in this position. Because he doesn't have that hook, Colby is able to rotate, which gets him out of that position, but now Leon attacks the triangle choke. He pulls on the arm, which easily gets defended, and Colby slides right out of there, settling on top of Leon Edwards, ultimately causing Leon to lose this round. Now, Colby did have an opening against Leon Edwards, and it was actually something that his coaches constantly were talking about. Leon's usual counters, when you throw punches at him from the same stance, both are southpaw, he likes to swing that check right hook, and it comes very wide. This is the exact same reason why Nate Diaz rocked him, and he was doing the same thing here against Colby Covington. And in fact, at one point of the fight, Colby did land the 1-2, but Colby doesn't have the same kind of power Nate Diaz does, which is kind of crazy to say, and he didn't go to it that often. And another opening for this counter hook on Leon Edwards is a takedown under it. There's a lot to work with for Colby Covington, throwing out that lead right hand forward. Leon is going to step back and wing that check right hook. Under is the opening for the takedown. It happened actually one time in the 5th round, and it was the only time Colby went for this. And it worked for him to apply pressure on Leon, but he did get into that choke. There's nothing Colby can say against that. Leon Edwards nearly got him in a choke, but Colby was able to spin out of it. And ultimately, Leon took away that pressure by stepping around, having better octagon awareness, and immediately had Colby up against the fence again. So the fight definitely was not like we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be a lot more action-packed, a lot more pressure from Colby Covington, a lot more countering from Leon Edwards. Leon should get Bilal Muhammad at this point. Colby Covington should fight somebody else, maybe Shavkat Rakhmonov. And I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. If you did, make sure to give this a like, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video.